Hi, this is Sandy,
And this is Trina.
and we're wishing you all a happy holiday here from Manteca, California.
Happy holidays to you all.
Well, Trina, today we're going to talk about something that you and I have called the face off.
The face off.
So let's talk about it.
All right, let's talk about it. Well, we always start off by saying, Sandy and I, we just discuss just different things. And as you all know, we have had our own grief experiences. And what we talked about really was, living, and living after a loss. And so some of our conversations just evolved. And so we just started thinking it really is a face off. It's a face off when you're dealing with two dichotomies. And there one is that you have actually experienced a loss. And the other one is you still have a life. And so they have to coexist. And we said bluntly, cannot ignore one for the other.
Right.
And so it's a part of our conversation. And I mean, Sandy might want to delve into just some examples of the face off.
Well, and it's really just that is that you have two things that you have to face. And so the face off just seems like a real organic way of expressing how you identify that's in front of you. It means that you can't ignore it. It means that you have your life that's going on and you're living it. And with life, there are challenges, daily challenges that we have to face. And then there's the portion of our life where we may have or had experienced some loss that's going on. And how do you merge those two? How do those two coexist together?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were talking, we realized in this conversation is you can't pick one over the other.
Nope.
Because if you do, something will suffer
Yeah.
in the process of that. Pain, hurt, loss, grief, we know it's very difficult. It is one, if not the most difficult things that we as humans will ever experience. And I don't care if you've only had one loss or if you've had dozens of loss, each loss serves its own pain. It carries its own pain. And so we're both very sensitive to the subject, and we both are very familiar with the subject. And we both are working women. We have our careers, we have our lives, and then we have our grief. And most states, our state in particular, they may give you 5 days off and then back to work, they expect you to go. And so, what do you do with that grief when you have to continue on with your life?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
How do you balance that? How do you not focus on one and put the other away? How do you not do that? And that's what we're talking about, not putting the other away. We're talking about them coexisting together and surviving that and walking through it.
Because there's a risk if they don't coexist. If you just focus on one and not the other, there is a risk. The loss might become very complicated in your thoughts, in your actions. And so there is something called complications in grief, what's called complicated grief. And so that's one thing. Or you might have and provide, quite a bit of attention, ignoring the experience of grief. And then that in itself is maybe a delay in your grief. And so 7 years might go by, and all of a sudden you're having a reaction to what was the reality of the loss. So either way, the negligence in it. And one of the conversations we had was a mother that might have several kids and have a loss of a child, and then fixes herself on just that loss, and that it's not something to ignore. However, if you have these other kids that are still living, they may need something from you. And what you might find yourself doing is losing again, either the experience that they're having in their lives, the attention that they might need, or even just watching them grow.
Right.
So they have to coexist.
They have to coexist. I can tell you just a really quick story. My aunt and uncle had a daughter, and they lost the daughter to violence. And when they lost the daughter, when they lost my cousin, my aunt simply stopped living. And I'll never forget this. When my husband passed, she said, I have some advice for you. She said, promise me you won't stop living. She said, because I've let the last 30 years go by and I couldn't tell you what has happened in those last 30 years other than me grieving for my child. And she said, there is no way to turn back time and to try to do this thing all over again correctly. Mind you, she had 2 sons that were still children that still needed a mother. And her biggest regret was being an absent mother while being present in their present, not there. Now, think about that. You're physically there, but they did not grow up in the last 30 years with a mother because of her grief.
That is really how we came about talking about the face-off.
Yes.
There is that life and there is that loss. And they have to coexist. They have to be dealt with simultaneously. And so you feel the pain and also you acknowledge you have to live. And so we don't have just a special formula how you have the face off. We tell you it is happening to anyone that has had a loss. And like Sandy just said, every loss has its own set of pain. But it also should bring with it its own life set of, just things that you might have to attend to in life as a result of the loss. So, again, we sometimes just think about different things that might be happening, or we've had the experience of it happening, and we just try to come to you with just different ideals about how to handle certain things.
And to just be mindful. And this is a very difficult time of year for a lot of us. It's very heavy. It's very hard. And I know I, for one, would prefer to just close my eyes and hibernate like a bear until next year, January 1st, and then start over and completely miss out on the holidays in that sense. But I know that's not an option. That I have loved ones who care about me, I care about, and I know I need to be present for them. And so that's my motivation. That's my reasoning for continuing and focusing on letting the two marry together in dealing with my face off. And so sometimes you need a little inspiration and motivation. So we encourage you to just find just a little bit, and you'll be surprised what it can help push you through and get you through. No one said it's going to be easy. We know it's not. It's a challenge. It's a challenge every single day. But we want you to at least be mindful and give it a name. If you've been trying to figure out, what do I call this thing? Maybe it's a face off.
And we have to deal with it whether we like it or not. It's interesting that you would say you wished, maybe sometimes you would like to hibernate. Something that came to mind to me the other day, I was actually driving down the street and I thought, I can't wait till spring. And then my other side of my brain said, then you're going to miss winter and fall. And so I have to be present in the winter, in the fall, even though I'm waiting on the spring.
Right. That's
so
good, Trina.
it's just something that has to happen, like the face off. It has to happen. They have to coexist. And you have to be mindful that I am experiencing something right now. And which is why we kind of end with, don't forget to visit the lighthouse. So the lighthouse is and could be anything that would help you with the face off. Right? I'm feeling this pain, but I need to live. And so go visit that lighthouse.
And it really will help you find your way. It's such a powerful message in that visiting the lighthouse is just a metaphor of something to, gravitate to. Visiting your lighthouse can be every evening when you have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea before you go to bed. It can be that, opening up the Bible or your favorite book and reading for an hour every evening. Whatever it is that centers you, that brings you back, that makes you feel like you can feel, because oftentimes in grief, I'll be honest, I can go numb. If I'm thinking about a loved one that I've lost and I'm reminiscing, I could just go numb because the pain is that heavy and it's that hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
But I love them that hard. And so, yes, it's going to feel that hard. But I'm learning, Trina, I'm taking baby steps that I do want to remember the good times. I
Mm-hmm.
do want to feel that pain and I do want to feel that heaviness because that's real.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't wish that I never felt it because then that means I would have never known them. And of course, we love our loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
so with that, we just have to stay mindful.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Stay mindful. And as we always say, if you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit share. If you have some questions for us, just feel free to, maybe send us a message. And if there's something that, we could help you with, we are here. We are certified grief coaches, so we
Yes.
could hopefully help you work through anything that has you stuck or it appears to be complicated. Just reach out to us. Um, in our normal, you say, what do you say? Don't forget,
Don't forget to visit your lighthouse.
it'll help you find your way out of the darkness.
Happy holidays to you. We love you and we're praying for you, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.